I request dignitaries to clear the passageway to the left side of the stage because Minister will be coming on that way only. So I request you to take the right side. So please clear the passages. Kindly requesting.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I know I made a bit of an entrance. Sorry. People who are standing, can you make sure that you make a passageway for the minister to enter? People standing over there, can you make a way for the minister to enter? Thank you everyone for gracing us with your presence for this session. We are so happy to see you. I would kindly request all of you to make the way for the minister to enter as we are about to begin the session shortly. Minister Puthiya sir here with us. I would like to invite Dr. PTR, Mr. Dheeraj Kumar sir, IAS, Ms. Vanitha Venugopal, CEO, I-20 Hub, Mr. Anish Segar, MD, LCOT, and Mr. Praveen Nair, CEO, TNGIM, to the dais. Thank you everyone for patiently waiting for us. Welcome to day 2 of the Global Investors Meet 2024. I'm Puthiya from Tamil Nadu Technology Hub, and I will be the host for the session. As the famous investor Warren Buffett once said, opportunities come infrequently. When it rains gold, put out the bucket, not the thimble. Today, we are here to put out our bucket to seize the opportunities that await us. I take immense pleasure in extending a warm welcome to the dignitaries we have with us. Honorable Minister Dr. PTR, Mr. Dheeraj Kumar IAS, Additional Chief Secretary, and the speakers who have gathered to share their insights. Thank you for gracing us with your presence today. I welcome you all once again on behalf of the entire IT&T team. To commence the program, I would like to invite Mr. Dheeraj Kumar IAS, Additional Chief Secretary to Government, Department of IT and DAS, Government of Tamil Nadu, to deliver the opening remarks. Please, sir.
Good morning to all of you. It's really quite encouraging to see the kind of a response to this session. So let me start with welcoming our Honorable Minister of IT and Digital Services, other dignitaries on the dais, the professionals and experts from industry, academia, and government, ladies and gentlemen, and members of press. Welcome to this session, which is themed on Gen AI and Deep Tech, the game changer. I think among the many sessions and many topics that are being discussed today, that are being talked today, this is one of the most relevant, and I'm sure you will find it most interesting session also of GIM of 2024. Friends, as we all know that generative AI has been there for a long time, starting in 1960s with its humble beginning as Eliza chatbot, and then went through lot of improvement, and then suddenly we all started talking about it in a very big way towards the end of 2022 with the advanced research which were done by OpenAI and Google and all that. So it became a buzz of the world. Wide application uses in different sectors, take it marketing, conversational application, knowledge management, even designing of the chips and the drugs, all that. But then there are certain challenges like deep fakes, proprietary. So all these are the issues which are associated with AI. And very closely related to AI is deep tech, which finds its uses in very, very wide field, from agriculture to aerospace to green energy, mobility. So lot of uses. And when we are talking about deep tech, we have to talk about the contribution being made by the startups, their important role in exploring the different technology like AI, biotech, quantum computing, robotics, and all that. And when I am talking about startups in deep tech, I must mention about ITNT hub of government of Tamil Nadu. Probably at least some of you may be aware of this institution being set up last year in May 2023 as a hub of incubating the innovation, and they are playing a unique role in Tamil Nadu of promoting innovation in deep tech. Some of the themes on which they are working are really quite interesting, like developing reusable PP sets, satellites for clearing debris in the space, and many more such things. I think a visit to our pavilion would really help you to understand, and maybe a visit to ITNT hub itself will be quite interesting to you. As far as this 90-minute session is concerned, it's really packed and full with lot of good kind of knowledge and interest. So our Honorable Minister will be giving the keynote address, which will be followed by a small short Q&A. Then we will have a fireside chat by experts of the field, and thereafter a panel discussion with the eminent personalities of this field. So I am sure that these 90 minutes, you will find it very interesting. It will enrich us and give us much more clarity on the way forward that we have to take in our organization, in our society, in our state, and maybe in the world as a whole. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for setting the tone for the event. Your words have inspired us to think big and aim high. Next, we have our very own Ms. Vanitha Venugopal, the Chief Executive Officer of Tamil Nadu Technology Hub, who will share a special address. Ma'am, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. I was asked to set the context. I think my job is already done. I think Secretary Sir had done a fantastic job of kind of laying the land of what the next 90 minutes we are going to expect. But nevertheless, this very morning, I'm filled with gratitude as I thank our Honorable Minister, Dr. Puthiya Thalaimurai Sir, IT Secretary Dheeraj Kumar IAS Sir, MD, TNGIM MD Praveen Nair IAS Sir, LCOT MD Anish Nair Sir, and my other HODs who have gathered along with your team to support ITNT, which is a very nascent organization that was just conceptualized 7 months ago with its inauguration at the heart of Anna University, the academic institution. And I'm privileged to drive the organization into the success of innovation and incubation in the deep tech space for the government of Tamil Nadu. So thank you again, everyone. So following the groundbreaking release of ChatGPT in November 2022, artificial intelligence has drawn immense attention on the global stage. With an unexpected surge in applications, product launches, organizations worldwide are racing towards catching up with the AIs and how they can apply that in their businesses. However, as Sir rightly said, amidst this intensity, many are concerned with the risks of AI it poses, and also they call for establishments of some rules and regulations and protocols to safeguard it while it is still at its infancy. So having said that, to gauge this rapidly evolving landscape, today we have curated this event so we can come together to share perspectives through a keynote address from none other than our charismatic leader, Minister Sir, scintillating fireside chats by industry pioneers, and a thought-provoking panel discussion which will touch upon ethical, regulatory, and business dimensions of AI. Their collective expertise, diverse backgrounds, and varying opinions aim to assist you in making informed decisions regarding the implementation of AI in your organization. Secondly, the government regulators are faced with the challenge of catching up with the rapid growth of AI. How do we make sure that AI could be used in how we do analysis of data in our government data system? Making sure that we are safeguarding the cyberspace, the online community, and the metaverse, resulting in a need to shift the attention towards understanding generative AI, its applications and its boundaries, so that we can establish policies to support that. With our IT department spearheading the new AI policy for the state, and IT&T as the implementation agency where we'll set up the state-of-the-art AI in collaboration with Indian as well as global partners. Without much further ado, I proudly present IT&T Hub, a 2-minute video. Thank you.
Thank you for addressing the audience, Mom. Your words have set the stage for an exciting day ahead. I recollect a quote from long ago. Thomas Edison once said, "I have not failed. I have just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That's quite optimistic, isn't it? We have something to show you what's brewing in IT&T Hub that we strongly believe will work. Cue the video, please.
IT&T, Tamil Nadu Technology Hub, established to harness Tamil Nadu's vast technology capability to build a thriving global innovation ecosystem by strengthening the R&D and innovation landscape, industry-academia collaboration, and international partnerships. We aim to be among the top 10 innovation hubs globally and help Tamil Nadu achieve a $1 trillion economy by 2030. IT&T focuses on deep tech and emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, big data, ML, DL, NLP, augmented reality, virtual reality, metaverse and IoT, edge computing, robotics. The key sectors we focus on include climate tech, space tech and aviation, creative tech, cybersecurity, healthcare and life sciences, smart cities and transportation. Our core programs cover these areas. The visionary initiatives of IT&T ignite the spark of innovation in every corner, nurturing a collaborative ecosystem where ideas take flight, supported by a strong global investor network. We stand firmly supported by a powerful alliance, the visionary government of Tamil Nadu, the government of India, renowned universities and industry titans united in their belief in the transformative power of innovation. To strengthen international ties, the IT&T Hub has formed collaborations with various countries. IT&T is marching towards making Tamil Nadu the innovation factory of the world.
Summing up, we are not just about programs, we're about possibilities. Together, we are building the future. It is now my honor to invite the Honorable Minister Dr. Puthiya, Department of IT and DS, to deliver the keynote address. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon to everybody. Thank you very much to the organizers of the event, particularly our IT&T CEO. I acknowledge here the Additional Chief Secretary of the Department, Dheeraj Kumar, the many heads of departments of all the different verticals in the IT department, some of the other senior IAS officers in the room, all the innovators and learned people on the subject from whom we are to hear on the rest of the session, and all of you, ladies and gentlemen. There's a place when ministers should speak, and there's a place when they should listen. And something like innovation in deep tech and AI, there's not really that much for ministers to speak. So so I'll try and keep my comments brief so we can get more time with the experts. As the Secretary said, in some sense this is the nth coming of AI, the third or the fourth. I remember Deep Blue, I remember the chatbots. I'm old enough to have seen many of these come and go. But what I think makes it different this time, other than the obvious results we see and the quality of the content generated through the generative AI, is that we have such vast amounts of data already available, at least in some languages and some countries, and the possibilities that that kind of data can be created and stored at relatively marginal cost of zero, and therefore that the available content for a machine to learn, for a program to learn, is infinite. Combined with the fact that these days access to really high levels of computing power is quite democratized through the cloud, and even startups for short periods of time can harness huge amounts of computing power at some reasonable cost. What would otherwise cost hundreds of millions of dollars to build regularly can be hired for an hour or a day. I think the combination of these has really unleashed the creativity and the whole approach to how machines and human beings interact. I say many times that my PhD dissertation back in 1990 or 91 was about understanding human cognition and helping to design computer interfaces with that understanding. That is to say, we want to try and make the machine more accessible to the person, and that was the extent of computing power at that time, the average person, the one that doesn't need to be a specialist. We have reached the other end of that spectrum today, where we are training the machines how to be like humans, and we now have the capability of doing that. Obviously, that opens up a whole lot of possibilities, and to touch upon briefly the nature of this double-edged kind of evolution. In job creation versus job destruction. I think clearly many jobs that were done by human beings will be much, much better and faster done and more reliably done by these machines. In my old industry of banking, the amount of work that was done post the mainframe processing of all the reported transactions that required hundreds of human beings to do, AI can probably eliminate all those jobs altogether. And yet, the creation of the content and the creation of the machine learning programming in English language, or in our case in Tamil language and in the regional languages, is going to create a whole lot of new jobs that we have not had before, and provide the possibility of even leapfrogging were we to have the right ecosystem to foster that kind of innovation. Of course, we also see that as much as generative can replace human beings, you can also do a lot of deep fakes, and so authentication of content and origination of source is going to be very important. We have seen election manipulation in many countries through AI level of deep fakes and content manipulation. Somebody gifted me a book, and I was just reading it earlier, about how in the Russia-Ukraine war, the battle for Kiev was effectively won by a bunch of programmers who got a bunch of drones together and were able to go and bomb out the advanced parts of a 40-kilometer long convoy of Russian vehicles in such a way that the entire road was blocked, and effectively changed what was otherwise sure defeat into eventual withdrawal of the Russian forces, because then they used the same technology to go and bomb out the supply chain. And so you had troops stuck with no way to go forward and not enough supplies to stay where they were. So this is the disruptive power, because what they could do is train these drones based on some of the camouflage they had detected to identify where other likely camouflaged vehicles and supplies were. So you look at all of this together, and I think this is going to be surely one of those inflection points. In my career, I've seen 2 or 3 of these. The widespread advent of converting analog and digital signals, which led to the ERP revolution and the automation of factories, the internet and email, which led to a different kind of connectivity, the Internet of Things, which led to a different level of automation and efficiency. And this is probably even more impactful than all of that together. As far as the government is concerned, I would say broadly there are three areas we're focused on when it comes to deep tech and AI. The first and by far the most important to somebody like me who comes from a social justice philosophy and the equity and inclusion agenda to public life is that we can change the way government functions. We can remove a lot of the human elements and the disruption that bad human elements can create in processes. And we should be able to make it so inclusive that even the lowest level of education with voice interaction should be able to get resolution of their requests or needs from the government without having to worry about, running from pillar to post and seeing 10 different officers. So the way government functions and the way government interacts with citizens, we hope will be our primary target for where we can apply these kinds of technologies and improve. Of course, part of government's job is to facilitate or create that kind of ecosystem where entrepreneurs and creative people can facilitate growth and help grow the employment, which is so vital for us as we reap our demographic dividend. And I think in the case of Tamil Nadu, where we have fallen a bit behind other states or other cities, at least in perception and branding, this technology and this paradigm shift offers us the opportunity to leapfrog some of the more traditional players and create a center of excellence or an ecosystem of excellence, not even a center, around AI and deep tech in Tamil Nadu, and use that and the brilliant and very talented and the huge magnitude of engineers and scientists that Tamil Nadu graduates every year to actually leverage the benefits of our education system and get jobs and growth. And then, of course, though it's very hard for states to regulate things at a technological level, it's an international business in some sense, it's a national policy making, but to have inputs in our own way into the regulation and responsible use of such technologies, and to have our responsible, our duties to the citizens properly input through these technologies, especially as we fear about the quality of democracy deteriorating in general. So I think with those objectives, I'm here to learn as much as everybody else, and so I won't say much more. It's a very exciting time for us, for the world, for the technology, for the young people, and I hope that in the next 75 minutes or so, we'll all come away from this much more enlightened and with a lot of thought-provoking inputs. And I thank you once again for coming. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That was pretty insightful, and thank you for explaining how AI is shaping up the present as well as the future. As mentioned by our Secretary, Mr. Dheeraj Kumar IAS, sir, we would like to open the floor for a few questions.
Hi sir, such a pleasure seeing you today. I'm Samir Kudur from the US-India Business Council. My question to you is, as you know, India today holds the presidency for the Global Partnership on AI. So how big is the role of the states in discussions around G5 presidency? And what are the things as far as regional languages concerned that you can perhaps put across to the central government in order to incorporate these ideas?
I must confess that we have at least not officially had any interaction yet with the government of India, so it's news to me. What you're telling me is news to me. Of course, we have some of our very fine officers now serving in Delhi and among others, my old finance secretary, Mr. Krishnan, is the MeitY secretary. So we'll follow up with him. I don't have any insight yet. But I will say that part of the issue with regional languages is that the data set and the existing engines in English are so far advanced that it's going to take a bit of work for us. I mean, we have lots of people, we have a lot of history of the language, we have lots of data as a government, But to get all these into a digitized, machine learnable, and in many cases voice learnable format is probably going to be one of the big manual tasks, and then even that some can be automated. I've been looking at technologies for that. But to create those data sets will be the basis for getting that level of sophistication that now exists in English into the regional languages, and it's our job to do that because we all want to preserve our mother tongue and our language.
Hello, sir. So follow-up question on that. Is Tamil Nadu government taking any proactive measures here on your left? So is Tamil Nadu government taking any proactive measures? There are some instance of small startups leveraging small language models and even fine-tuning large language model based on Meta's Llama. So is Tamil Nadu government making any efforts on that front? And also there are challenges, concerns raised by the technologists. They say that the inscription or the way the Tamil is in the internet, it is not easily be encoded into this machine language algorithms or what you call that in tokens. So is Tamil Nadu government working on any of these areas?
I think we are broadly in the process of coming up with some incentive and support policies in the IT overall IT space, and certainly as the IT&T CEO mentioned around specific areas like AI. Hopefully sooner rather than later. I must confess that the previous IT policy, which has been around for 5 or 6 years, 5 years, has not had any takers. So something is clearly wrong in the way that our incentive policies were set up, despite the fact that we have seen phenomenal growth. As many of you know, last year Chennai's office uptake was double the annual average of the last few years before that. So something is a bit off in the way we are setting up these policies. We'll figure out. But in the case of AI companies, I think really it's about access to data, access to computing power, and then the basics of anybody else, to have a startup space, to have power, to have decent infrastructure. The second question I think is a bit more complex. Already there's an issue. Tamil Nadu was one of the early members in the UU Code consortium, and we had been moving to come up with all the Tamil text to be for various reasons. I don't want to talk politically here, but for various reasons that was not quite done, and a lot of proprietary codes were used and proprietary fonts were used, and so we have a lot of problems, at least with government content, that needs to be fixed. But there's a very clear solution, right? If they're all universal code, they can be translated easily and machine read easily, and the machine learning can be programmed easily. So the more we move towards the standard code fonts, then I think we'll be better off. We had to do that for other reasons anyway. We'll probably push even harder now for these reasons.
Hello, sir. Sir, here,
That will be the last question.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm sophisticated enough to answer a lot of questions. Why don't we get the experts here? So anyway.
Yes, the last one. I'll keep it short. Yeah. First of all, big fan. And we've read about how OpenAI uses a lot of water in its data center. So if India were to develop one of its own, and given the water shortages in the country, and especially in a state like Tamil Nadu, where we have faced a lot of water problems and like water-based disasters, how would the government go about handling those kind of situations?
Yeah, I'm not sure that AI data centers are going to consume a lot more water than generic data centers. Maybe I'm not well informed, but I think we have a broader problem, which is, and I'll just take a crack at this without enough real depth. One is that data center power and water supply in general, I think, needs to be looked at both from clean energy as well as our overall water utilization is very, very inefficient. Even if you take advanced countries, the amount of recycling they do and the amount of multi-use, multi-reuse, we don't do much of that at all. So our long-term solution has to be not that there's shortage of water, as many of you can tell. is that we don't store it, we don't recycle it, so we got a structural problem. I'm not sure it's unique for data centers. Data centers, I think, is more important to us for other reasons. But I think the cooling technology also is changing quite a bit. I've started to see a lot more air-cooled rather than water-cooled, and there's some, efficiencies in the design. So I think the broader perspective, at least from government of Tamil Nadu's view, is that we want renewable energy and reusable cooling system with a lot of recycling cooling systems, and that will be true for data centers as much as it's true for any other purpose. And certainly I don't think we have a separate policy for AI data centers compared to data centers in general.
I'm Gopi Balasubramaniam. I'm a CEO of a German startup working on quantum computation. My question is, quantum computing is a deep tech technology, and as you know, Europe and other Western countries have export regulations and restrictions. How does India and Tamil Nadu plan to tackle this in this context? Thank you.
I can only give you one instance because I don't know about India. Actually, I can say two things. One, the government of India has sponsored two quantum computing centers. I'm not sure that's actually buying computing power, but maybe to innovate around quantum computing. One has already been allocated to the Northeast. I'm in talks with the government of India to get the other one allocated to Tamil Nadu. Hopefully they will, it's a natural, logical choice, but we will never know. We will never know. The other aspect is that one of the countries that does particularly well in building quantum computers, as you may know, is Finland, because of their old engineering prowess and so forth. So actually we are in discussions with them for a few months now. Hopefully we'll accelerate those to see if we can procure one from Finland and use that to create some space for startups in the utilization of that, and see how we can benefit the ecosystem with that.
Thank you.
Due to time constraint, we will not be able to entertain any more questions. Sorry. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. May I now request Mr. Dheeraj Kumar, IAS Additional Chief Secretary to Government IT and DS Department, and Ms. Vanitha Venugopal, the Chief Executive Officer of IT&T Hub, to felicitate the Minister. We'll be beginning the next session shortly. Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. We are now moving on to an engaging fireside chat on the ever-important topic, AI demystified, to demystify the magic of AI, of course. I would like to welcome Mr. Rajendran Tandabani.
Hub, established to harness Tamil Nadu's vast technology capability to build a thriving global innovation ecosystem by strengthening the R&D and innovation landscape, industry-academia collaboration, and international partnerships. We aim to be among the top 10 innovation hubs globally and help Tamil Nadu achieve a $1 trillion economy by 2030. IT&T focuses on deep tech and emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, big data, ML, DL, NLP, augmented reality, virtual reality, metaverse and IoT, edge computing, robotics. The key sectors we focus on include climate tech, space tech and aviation, creative tech, cybersecurity, healthcare and life sciences, smart cities and transportation. Our core programs cover these areas. The visionary initiatives of IT&T ignite the spark of innovation in every corner, nurturing a collaborative ecosystem where ideas take flight, supported by a strong global investor network. We stand firmly supported by a powerful alliance, the visionary government of Tamil Nadu, the government of India, renowned universities and industry titans united in their belief in the transformative power of innovation. To strengthen international ties, IT&T Hub has formed collaborations with various countries. IT&T is marching towards making Tamil Nadu the innovation factory of the world.
Summing up, we are not just about programs, we're about possibilities. Together, we are building the future. It is now my honor to invite the Honorable Minister, Dr. Thalaimurai
from now. So that is the context in which we are starting this interaction. I have some questions to ask him. He has some questions to ask me. We may even throw it up and answer it ourselves, and let's see how this goes. I hope there's a timer running here. Your starting line, if you have an opener.
My opening line is the positives outweigh the negatives. That's what it is. You could talk about all the pitfalls of AI, but I strongly believe through my multiple phases of industrial revolution that I have been through, that the positives outweigh negatives. We should look at things from that perspective.
Right, let's jump right in then. That was a question I had in mind, underlined once again by our minister mentioning that English being such a darling baby of the internet and Tamil not much so. And what are we going to do? So that was my question too. This digital divide, I have always felt English was a colonial burden on us. I'm waiting for the time when software engineering can be taught in natural native language. I think we have a big boost because Japanese don't learn programming in English. Germans don't learn programming in English. So they learn through their languages. So I was wondering over time, this resurgence of the native language was going to come, and our schools will start teaching higher technology in Tamil. But with this introduction of a chat GPT or a generative AI, has that gap once again expanded, almost uncrossably so? Will we once again have to suffer? Because once upon a time, there was this technological divide, haves and have-nots, computers and no computers, then internet and no internet. And always we had to pay homage to the existing lead English had. What happens now, once again? What's your thought on that?
So before I get to the answer part of it, let me set the stage. ChatGPT, right? ChatGPT uses around 175 billion parameters to crunch the numbers. And to give this as a service to the public, their computing power. Sad mentioned that computing is one of the key pillars. In any AI, it's the infrastructure, which is the computing, data, right? And of course the talent. Three pillars of any AI ecosystem, along with governance, of course. So the ChatGPT spends upwards of $20 million a month in crunching the numbers. They use thousands of H100 NVIDIA chips, the ChatGPT 4. Compare that with local, regional language. I know Bharat GPT is one of the LLMs that India has developed, and they use close to 30 to 40 billion parameters. So it's very difficult at this stage for startups to compete in that level, and we have to be very careful that we don't feed our regional data, regional insight into our citizens into the larger language models, because the IP, the privacy is still not well governed at the international level, at the regional level. So it's very important that we put in all the governance as much as possible. So, I would love to see, we have done some work. What I'm going to talk today is purely based on my experience the last so many years. We have built some language models on Tirukkural. So if you put in some content, it can spit out some Tirukkural-based content. But it requires a good bunch of computing power. So I would love to see it, but I think for a startup to have that kind of funding resources to compete, it's going to be really hard. I think it's very important for the government to come and step in, regional state, Tamil Nadu state, to come and step in and own that data set, including the Tamil language and things like that.
So generative AI seems to be all about the number of parameters, and we are waiting for the time when it is not going to be just the quantity, but the quality of the connections too. Zoho, my own personal example, we pretty modest. We are in the millions even today. 200 million parameters is what we are working with. And 240, 250 GPUs, not the hundreds and thousands of GPUs that typical companies usually use. And that is where Sam Altman's message about challenging an Indian company, bring it on and so on, was really misconstrued when we took it up as a wrong message, as if he was thumbing the nose at us. But I think there is an opportunity for narrow generative intelligence where it is deep, it is contextual, it is relevant to the protected data set that you talked about. Because if you are in a CRM, for example, the database should not even look at the other company's data that the same cloud architecture is hosting. So there are very interesting challenges ahead, and the only message I would like to pass on at this moment to any company, not even in the business of AI, but in the business of software, in the business of working with your customers, collect every damn thing, all data. Be very careful about protecting it sanctimoniously, but collect everything. You never know where the next gold mine is. Be very careful about it. Follow all GDPR and other regulations, but never ignore even a sneeze from the customer, COVID notwithstanding.
I would like to quote one of the conversation I had with a customer just a few months back. So the customer said, we need to build a system where I would like to ask the computer, hey computer, I would like to see the shop floor. And I would like to see what are the top issues that I have to deal with today, right? So that's kind of work that we are doing right now. And this customer runs a large factory in the US. So what is involved behind it? Just let me break it down. Generative AI is very involved in it. Digital twin is involved in it. So what happens is we have to first build a digital twin of the entire factory. Then we have to connect various subsystems using IoT sensors. And we have to collect those data back to the digital twin so we could do a real-time 3D rendering. Right? Until generative AI kicked in, one of the largest challenge of metaverse. I'm not a big fan of Decentraland and other things. I'm not a big fan. Maybe I'm old school. But I'm a true believer, and that is a real ROI behind a digital twin, right? Where you could simulate the actual factory in 3D and predict and see and visualize what could go wrong. I'm a big fan of that. So one of the biggest challenge blockade for metaverse is cost of building content and generative AI. A typical a task that was taking probably a week of man hours, you could do it in probably an hour's time. Right, so that's the beauty of it. So, and trying to combine and visualizing using AR, VR, or HoloLens. I could be even a holographic, the way Iron Man used to visualize things, right? So all it's going to happen moving along. And the current world, which is a 2D world, is changing rapidly into a 3D world. And for that, generative AI is the key element that's going to drive the entire 3D simulation of a world around it.
All right. I'm going to come to skilling. Sure. Both of us are in our own ways involved in it. But before that, you have you are playing multiple roles with the government of India and the government of Tamil Nadu. So my question to you specifically, probably a devil's advocate kind of question, is do startups really have a chance to compete in a level playing field in the deep tech domain? Because whenever we say deep tech, it is heavy investment, huge research, a long game marathon, and shot in the dark, which is probably why there aren't many, as many as startup software agencies as there are in deep tech. So what is the government doing about it? What is the outlook? And what hope do Indian startups have to compete in that? I read an article just yesterday. Professor Kamakoti had mentioned 2024 is not just the year of AI. He had mentioned 3 technologies, and all of them fall conveniently in the deep tech space. The first one is space itself. He says it being privatized now, there are going to be a burgeoning thing there. And AI, of course, and med tech, he mentions. So what are your thoughts, and what is the government doing?
Once again, I'm not the government. I sit in the...
But you work with them.
I sit as advisor.
It's better to learn about what the government is doing from people like you.
I'm a tech advisor to the Tamil Nadu Forest and Environmental Department. So in that positions, I drove the architecture for the elephant tracking AI system in Madurai. It's going to get deployed very, very soon. It's based on computer vision. So I work with the Forest Department in the other AI-based stuff. So I try to bring in my expertise over the last 20 decades of experience, right? So I think there's a lot of work happening from the Forest Department in terms of AI. Other things I wouldn't know. And I don't want to comment on, especially in front of the HODs.
Let's move on to skilling then.
Yeah, skilling is an area that is pretty
you work with thousands of students. I work with hundreds of students, all of them in the cusp of their career. You probably fill a gap. I provide an alternative path. So what do each of us have to say?
So before I get there, right, I think, there's a lot of fear about people losing jobs and things like that, right? So I think we have gone through the computer revolution, and there's a repositioning of jobs. That's what happened. That's what's going to happen now. There is a data set that says only 5% of any job can be completely automated. Only 5%. The remaining, and probably 30% of jobs can be automated, close to 30-40%. Having said that, there has to be and there will be a human touch to it, right? And that is the repositioning of the current jobs that is there in the market right now. And there are new roles coming into play in terms of data science, data engineer, DevOps engineer. And that's what we do. So we are one of the large training partner for state of Tamil Nadu in terms of non-Mudalvan. So we teach close to 30,000-40,000 students every semester, and generative AI, data science, analytics are one of the courses that we teach. I think talent is there. The talent is there. Probably the depth is what is missing. I think we need to solve that. So
I need to check your glasses. I don't know if they are rose tinted, because I have a much more depressive view of the things to come. See, 10 years from now, there may be 100 times more jobs, more avenues. Probably there doesn't even need to be a job. Why do humans have to work as an angle? I'm an artist. I take care of my parents. Could be a job eventually. Probably that time is yet to come. But for the majority of us in the age group of 30 to 50, we don't have the luxury to wait 10 years for the things to settle down. This is what I told my colleagues and my friends when COVID year number 2 was running. I told them things are going to get a lot worse before they start getting better. And that is the phase I think we are in with respect to the displacement that AI is impacting on all of us as business runners, as employees, as learners, as students. And I think the authorities at both the private and the government need to take cognizance of this. And yes, some bit of governance can happen, some guardrails can be set, but individually in each of us, there has to be an awakening that things are not going to be a smooth continuation. There is a singularity that's happening, and whatever worked, whatever brought us till here is not going to be a linear extension, and I can continue beating the same drum and wearing the same shoes and somehow walk differently. That's my personal take on that. Which is why at Zoho schools, for example, we have tried disrupting beyond the need for disruption. Go whole hog, right? We have abolished exams. We have encouraged ChatGPT in all student answers, and because that's what they're going to use when they enter the workforce. What's the point training them saying, do not touch the computer, write your code answers in paper, right? That's what we continue to do at colleges. So we have said out the window for all that, and we are experimenting in generative, all the School of Design, School of Technology, School of Business. We are trying to see. That was a great master stroke by Microsoft when it named it Copilot. That is a beautiful name. The pilot is still in charge, but most of the 80% of the work that can be automated deserves to be automated, and hence assign it to the Copilot, move to a higher order. That's how we are looking at it.
I would like to give reference to my own experience. So I run a medtech company. That was the last question. We are in the mission of stroke and orthopedic rehabilitation using sensors and AI. So all my AI engineers are been hired from tier 2, tier 3 cities, right? I don't have anybody from the IIT or from the Anna University Engineering College. They're all from tier 2, tier 3. Given a 3-month training, I can, with full confidence, I could say that they can do what they need to be done. So. So definitely yes. Right. I think I'm not too worried about the talent.
Yeah, I hope you will agree. I don't have anybody from IITs and IIMs. It's not people beating a track to your door and you saying no to them. They don't come, we don't take. That's the story with Zoho also. You guys have fun somewhere else, happy. We guys having fun here, fine. There is place for everybody. That's the take. Okay, tappa ninchikadinga. Yeah.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Correct.
And, if it's IIT, I have to listen to them. I rather want people to listen to me. Rather
they wouldn't want to come to Tenkasi. Yeah. We have been asked to close in 2 minutes for Q&A.
Yes,
yeah.
Q&A.
So your closing thoughts.
I think
I had a question. Probably I should slip that in. My question was about deep tech, not just AI. Deep tech.
Yeah.
It being a high-hanging fruit, a long gestation period game. Autonomous, imagine there is a kid here, 20-year-old, star-eyed kid wanting to build an autonomous vehicle that will meander through T. Nagar Ranganathan Street. Yeah? Amazing project. But
he is not going to work in Ranganathan Street.
Yeah, she may probably succeed in 15 years. My question is, who gives her that stamina? What can we do to empower such people, play the long game? How do we take their eyes off the low-hanging fruit of an IT job in a software company in Chennai, in an IT park? How do we get them to also understand that there are these longer ones? So it's the difference between chick-lit and the Ramayana perhaps, and the Mahabharata perhaps. Aduvum irukku, appadina how do we show? Your thoughts?
My thoughts, I think you have to empower the startups. You have to empower the SMEs. So you have to put the use cases. I think IT can do a good job in figuring out. The IT industry can figure out all the digital services that has to be implemented in the state of Tamil Nadu. And you could create an ecosystem of startups through which you can give them the computing power, you can give them the data, access to the problems where the IT digital services. I mean, there are hundreds of problems that we have in Tamil Nadu, right? From transportation to healthcare.
He mentioned that there weren't takers.
And we could provide a blanket of digital services across and define various problem statements and go get students, get young startups to go solve the problem. And they're not going to be expensive because IT can give the space, can give the computing power, problem is done, there's a market access directly. I think that's the way to do. And if you can do that consistently.
I have one suggestion for such people. Start using email again. Because email slows it down. Yeah, instant messages, you need to see them, that bouncing thing, everything immediate on the table. Start using email again. Probably that might help. I'm ready for questions.
I think people will ask, what's email?
Thank you, Mr. Rajendran. Thank you, Mr. Vijay. It was a really engaging chat. We are now opening the floor for some questions.
I see a lot of hands.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Kumar Raja. I am from New York City. I have an AI startup. I'm sure Vijay would agree with my question. It's more of a policy question. It's very difficult to outsource to India anymore for tech jobs. It's not as competitive in terms of pricing. It's not that there's no resources, but there's not enough trained resources. Because it is dearth of resources, they all want to work for Microsoft or Facebook. That inflates the cost of the resources here. I'm pretty sure this training like non-Motherland would help, at least to normalize those pricing. Is government consciously doing anything about it? And number two, I think you just mentioned about only it becomes a big player's space. That is because those companies spent a lot of time on research, right? It's only because of why West, though we boast ourselves about historically, we were, oldest civilization, we were wealthy, we did trade across the globe, but we never spent time on research, right? So everybody, they spent maybe 3-4 decades for research. So I think it's
So this guy, he is doing research. He's been running a startup for the past 2 years. He's doing research on cybersecurity. His question to me just a while ago was, how do I get work? So I told him, I think we are all sabikapattavargal, cursed. You probably have to widen your network, do some work for free, live within your means. That was the kind of advice I could give him. So yes, I'm sure he empathizes with you. Yeah.
So, quick question. So I don't want people to look India as a low-cost center, right? That should be the case.
Yeah.
I think we have the IP, we have the talent.
Come for talent, not for
talent. So
cheap
Israel,
money.
I remember Intel, right, went to Israel in the late 70s just as a low-cost center. Now Israel drives the whole revenue for Intel, right? That's how it works. So I think we have the talent. Give us the problem. We will solve it for you.
Yeah, I mean, just to why I brought the question is, few of, at least 5 of my friends, they're all going to Central America and America, Southern and North America, for setting up shops, and they're not too upset for setting up shops there. So yeah, the English is not the first language there, they're Latin or Spanish, but they're all catching up. So we have to be aware of that somebody is eating our cheese. Right, so and proximity to the Americas are a big advantage for them. Though they don't have too much power, so of us also, right? Even India doesn't have a trained. We have a lot of trained engineers.
We are running out of time.
Yeah,
He made his question.
We can take this
That was a
discussion outside
rhetorical
post this
question.
session.
Thanks.
Hi, I have a question here.
No, we are running out of time now. If you have any further questions, you can take
Later.
it out post the session. Thank you.
இல்லப்பா வெயிட் பண்ணு அவங்க விட்டாதான்
நாங்க வெளிய இருக்கோம் பேசலாம் அவங்க கிட்ட.
One last
question கேளுங்க.
Yes.
What's your question?
There's a lot of problems with this artificial intelligence and stuff, and right now we are just using narrow intelligence, and we know where this Microsoft and all the big boys are going towards for AGI and ASI, and it takes a lot of time over there, but the point is, what do you think that we develop our own things with better hardware and software, like encountering all the hardware and the software problems? Say for example, I do work on particle physics equally. So I want to counter things.
What's the
using
question,
this.
boss? Please.
Okay. So that's what. What is your point? If we develop AI as a third front, countering Microsoft and Google. But
It's going to be a long answer. Let's take it offline.
I'll probably answer. I'll give you my version of it.
Yeah,
I don't know what the right answer is. See, 3.5 to 4 versus 4 to whatever next is going to be extremely disappointing. Most AI luminaries are now saying that we have hit the ceiling of the wrong room. Intelligence in the true sense of the word is not coming. Yesterday, for example, I had a Tirukkural misadventure with ChatGPT. Try asking ChatGPT for a Tirukkural about something and it generates its own Tirukkural. Seriously, it happened to me yesterday. Okay, 421 number oda sethu solludu. Okay, they are saying that there is some secret sauce that is missing and they are going back to the drawing board now, which is not hardware and processor and water intensive. It is brain intensive. So probably that is the direction you need to take. AI, the hype is real. It has hit the ceiling of the wrong room, is my opinion.
Your entire advertising business is completely now driven by AI.
Diluted that. Money was not convincing me, so I've diluted that. And just before a short span of time, as Michio Kaku has rightly said, the one who is gonna, there is a big race for this quantum computer. Sorry? Michio Kaku number the
Yeah. Sir, can we take this discussion late? We are running out of time. Thank you so much. May I now request Mr. Anish Shekhar IAS, MD LCOT, and Mr. Praveen Nair IAS, CEO TNGIM, to felicitate the speakers. Thank you so much, speakers. The response from the audience was also overwhelming. Thank you so much. Moving on with our schedule is our panel discussion on Gen AI and Deep Tech, the game changer. I would like to welcome the panelists to begin the session. But before that, I'll give you a short introduction about them. We have Ms. Nithya Subramanian, Head of Data and Analytics, AMEA, Kellanova. Can you have you on the stage, Mom? Next, we have Mr. Kaushik Dey, Head of Research, AIML, Ericsson India. Happy to have you here with us, sir. Next online, we have Mr. Gopalan Uppiliyappan, Head of AI Center of Excellence at Intel Corp. I now request Mr. Raghunathan Rangaswamy, Dean Global Engagement at IIT Madras, to please get on the stage. Last but not the least, I extend my warm welcome to Mr. Abhij Chatterjee, Managing Director and Partner at Boston Consulting Group, to moderate this panel discussion. Over to the panelists.
First of all, thank you very much for having us on the panel. I was for a moment getting surprised why call a non-Tamilian to moderate a panel in Tamil Nadu. I am clearly out of my, if I would say, depth in terms of language and the great, if I would say, specific references around that. But that being said, first of all, big thanks to the state of Tamil Nadu for the excellent work, and Minister Sir for your extremely enlightening speech as well as the other luminaries who have gathered here, and to IT&T for driving such a marvelous journey ahead. And I'm sure the ambitions are going to very soon be met. I'll start with a small story. I know in this room, knowing the brain power that this state possesses and for what it is known, most of you would know of Isaac Asimov very well. He wrote a book in 1950s called I, Robot, which then many years down the line, Will Smith made into a blockbuster story. I watched that movie sometime in 2006. I was still early in my working career. At that point in time, I thought such a day will never come. 15 years down the line, I think we are at the brink of seeing some of that happen. And I think there was a very interesting comment around hitting the wrong ceiling and the wrong roof, and we'll see some of that definitely happen. That being said, we will directly dive in. A big part of the theme of this panel is around innovation and impact. So what I would do is, essentially, I'll pose my first question directly to all the four of you, which is, we've now been speaking around AI and deep tech for a while. Each of you represent very, very different, varied businesses, also a viewpoint from academia. What are you seeing as some of the best trends and what is working in your space? We can start with you, Gopal, and then move that side.
Sure. Thank you very much for inviting me for this panel discussion. I lead the AI Center of Excellence in Intel India. So I'll take the semiconductor industry and look at the disruption, right? The way semiconductor industry is looking at it is disrupting the disruption, which today, if you look at it, the GPU paradigm that is happening, compute-intensive GPU paradigm, right? We are looking at how that can become more democratic in terms of compute, because compute, data, and algorithms are the three pillars that are driving this disruption. So if you look at it, the advent of AI PC, because models are going to be consumed at the edge, and how AI PCs can enable such a democratization of compute is one of the ways that by which externally, a semiconductor industry, manufacturer like Intel is looking at. I will also give you a flavor of what is happening internally, right? We can also consume these generative AI models to run an enterprise much more efficiently. So, I think in the previous talks we were talking about Copilot. So we are looking at something like a code designer for a semiconductor design engineer itself. If you look at it, there is a design aspect, there is a validation aspect in semiconductor before the silicon is taped out, and then you do a post-silicon validation. So we are looking at how we can augment the intelligence of a designer by looking at how an RTL, because it's not Python by which, a semiconductor designer does coding. RTL is the language in which the semiconductor designer does it. So can we assist and augment a semiconductor designer with generative AI tools? That's the current phase in which we are looking at embracing generative AI.
Thanks, Abhik, for the question. Very, very valid question in the current context. And hi, everyone. I'm Nitya Subramanian, and I head the data and analytics practice for AMEA, which is Asia, Pacific, Middle East, and Africa region for Kellogg's. The legal entity is called Kellanova, but it is the same company that manufactures Kellogg cornflakes and Pringles and etc. Right. Coming to the answer, in fact, Gen AI is something which doesn't entirely represent deep tech, and I'm appalled at people considering Gen AI to be consisting, most part of the deep tech. Deep tech involves much more, and we heard from the eminent speakers a while back, right, that it also involves areas like, of course, blockchain, quantum computing. It involves genetic engineering. It involves nanotechnology, and there's a whole lot of technological components to this larger technology wave that we are a part of, right? So having said that, in a typical CPG organization or FMCG organization, there are multiple applications of the different aspects of deep tech. Now, generative AI, if I may start with, right? So in the FMCG organization that I am a part of, we are currently in the phase of trying to experiment and identify the art of possibilities. We are taking very, very cautious and deliberate steps towards kind of, baking this in our labs, until we are ready to kind of identify the real economic value of infusing generative AI in our use cases and kind of productionalize them. And we are going to be soon, we are optimistic about hitting that target, because as the previous conversation, it happened that, with generic or general AI, which is kind of something artificial generic intelligence, it probably is not going to kind of help in very focused or typical cases, right? So we are looking at use cases which are very specific, like in case of marketing, in case of, marketing creatives, in case of identifying the right promotions to invest in, the right pricing models, etc. Apart from that, generative AI is also helping our, developers, our IT team in kind of coming up with, I would say productivity improvements in areas like, writing the code, in kind of reviewing and identifying the code is fit for purpose, and also identifying the various aspects that we are really worried about in terms of bias, in terms of ethics, in terms of, misrepresenting outputs or misinformation, etc. Right. Having said this, now moving on to other area of deep tech that we have infused in our manufacturing processes very cleanly, robotics and drones, right? And we are a food company, and then quality is paramount for us. Therefore, things like spillage, things like quality of the ingredients that we are putting into our products, it's very, very important. Therefore, it's very important to monitor our manufacturing processes and our inventory, stock keeping, etc. And we are using a lot of robotics and drone technologies out there. Yeah, so these are typically a few areas that I could see in my current organization, which we are like kind of maneuvering and pretty early in the early stages. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you. Kaushik. Firstly, thank you for thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here, and thanks Abhik for the question. So, speaking about disruptive technologies, first in the context of Ericsson, we are committed to become the leaders in 6G. And when we say 6G, 6G is going to kind of transform the way a lot of things operate, be it at a personal level or even in the industry front. So it's not only about how fast you can download an YouTube video. We can download those fast enough right now with the Chennai 5G. But what 6G is going to do, it's going to establish a cyber-physical continuum, which is it's going to blend the physical and the virtual worlds together. What that means is basically we are going to have a digital representation of the physical environment. And I think it was Vijay who was talking about the digital twins. So imagine a factory somewhere in Bangalore. If we have a perfect digital twin of that factory, and if I am able to render the actuations in a low latency mode, then what I could do, I could have people sitting right here in Chennai. They could operate in that assembly line which is there near Bangalore, and they could collaborate at the same time with the physical workers there in Bangalore. This kind of low latency, multi-agent, multiple people collaborating across both the virtual and the physical medium will be possible through such cyber-physical continuum. Now, this is a great story, but what do we need in order to build the cyber-physical continuum is actually the digital twin. Building a digital twin of a system is a non-trivial task, because you not only need to build the visual representation, you also need to build the model of the environment. If you take a certain action, if you turn the in the virtual environment, how much would it actually turn in the real environment? How much force you are going to apply? What if there is some rust? So how do you actually represent the environment? you can operate, a scalpel remotely. But then we want to go to a frontier whereby it is not only looking at the vision, but it is also getting all the 5 senses of feedback. So getting a haptic feedback. When the doctor presses a certain muscle, he gets a haptic feedback. When the doctor pushes the scalpel, you need it at a very low latency, because a millisecond of latency can transform into a half an inch, or say, for example, even 1/10 of an inch of added incision, which could be the difference between life and death. So, number one, it's going to enable the digital twin. Once you enable the digital twin, the opportunities are endless. One is we could bring down the cost as
promised lands. But in terms of how it affects academics, of course, it affects academics in multiple ways. It looks like every department now is partly an AI department. You can't be a biologist without talking about AI. You can't be a material scientist without talking about AI. You can't be a chemistry person talking about AI. Remember the days chemistry people will say no. A lot of people are saying, what can I do? If I were designing this very specific catalyst and so on, now they have this magic program which will design this. Go out of a job is not only true for general folks, it's also true for academicians. And if you can have a ChatGPT teach you everything, how do I go and teach in a class, right? If so much information is available in YouTube and you can ask any question and get an answer, what is the differentiation that I'm going to do in a class and so on? So those are all very interesting questions. But I will generally say, from an academic viewpoint, I think it's a very exciting time because you are a part of building this, not on the other side of just using this. So in that sense, the potential is enormous, and it's not very clear where this will end up. As someone said, predictions are hard, particularly about future. So I was just looking at having fun with this, and the greatest time to be in this area in academics.
Super. Very interesting perspectives. And I'll shift to a slightly different angle now, which is an angle around, and I know there's a lot of passion in the room, but not to dumb it down. We spoke to about 2,000 executives, about 2,000 CEOs end of 2023. As in BCG conducted extensive research. The question we asked them was, is Gen AI, deep tech, all of the fancy technologies, whatever we can name it, is it writing seriously down into your bottom line, correct? We got some startling answers. 11% said definitely yes. We are rallying money, we are rallying effort, people, etc. 37% said we are still experimenting. And roughly half of them, which is 52%, said we are still not very sure, correct? Now, this is good and bad both ways. Good because it throws opportunities for country and states like us. Bad because if the guy on top or the girl on top is not sure, then where does it go? A question to the panel here, and it will be great if we can time ourselves to a minute, is how are you as large corporates, which definitely has the muscle, willpower, intent, whatever we call it, going behind it, and what is the value that you are seeing? Okay. We can go in any sequence. You can.
Sure. So, when we embarked on this AI journey, right, we also kind of noticed that the mortality rate, sorry, I'm using a very depressing term, mortality rate in AI projects is 80%. So if you're pursuing 10 ideas, only 2 will go to production or the so-called going live, right? So we have come up with frameworks and approaches on how to find such signals, symptoms in an AI project so that you can weed those ideas much, much earlier. So we in fact have a framework called taking an idea to production, right? Right from idea to production. How do you go through a systematic process by which you eliminate these false alarms or emotionally charged ideas, but will not translate to value? That's the way by which we have, again, have we mastered it? No, we are in the journey of figuring this out, right? But these are some of the stage gate approaches that we have put in the so-called AI funnel. Right from taking an idea till deploying it in production. How do you put the checkpoints so that you are in the right trajectory of pursuing the right ones to put it in production? That's how we harness the value. And we have seen, using simple statistical techniques to predictive techniques, we were able to generate value, both in predictive as well as in the generative AI we are seeing. Yeah.
Nitya?
So I reckon what Gopalan sir mentioned, because that is a very generic concern, right? In any organization, which is embarking on the journey of generative AI or any deep tech, right? What is the value that I'm going to get out of this investment? And these are pretty big investments, right? To train one LLM, it costs loads of money, right? And am I getting the right value at the end of it, right? Is my production model is giving me the right kind of adoption, the right kind of output that I'm looking for, right? So this is a kind of a very, very commonplace concern, which I'm sure most of the organizations are going through. Another concern, which again equally commonplace, is about the skills, and which is so brought about it, that skills and the readiness of our workforce to take on this new technology wave, which includes Gen AI, but a lot many other technologies, is very, very important. And there has to be very, very thought through processes in kind of bridging the skill gap. Job displacements is something which we all need to be wary about. But the point is, if you think about it, job displacement is a function of the demand for skills versus supply for those skills, and how quickly are we able to bridge this against the fear of some of the repetitive jobs being automated and jobs getting displaced, right? So it is a very thin line. It's not a problem that is not solvable. It's a problem that requires a lot of concerted efforts in terms of not just upskilling, but also in terms of getting the infrastructure ready for the future generation to kind of pick up and upskill themselves. And we don't have the right infrastructure right now. We don't have the right, I would rather say, unfortunately, again, I might sound pessimistic. We don't also have a very good and I would say education ecosystem, right? Technology infused education ecosystem to kind of pave way for future generations to harness on this. So there are multiple areas where I could see that foundational and deliberate efforts are required, and we are seeing that same thing happening in our organization also. We are having a lot of issues with deep tech skills to harness the benefits. Yeah.
Kaushik?
Yeah. So I would echo my esteemed panelist. And if I might just add, if I look at AI, is AI adding value? Certainly, yes. Most of our new products, or almost all of our new products, they have significant amount of AI in it. Next, if the question comes that, what about generative AI? I think generative AI still has to travel a certain more path before it actually gets into the products. There are situations where generative AI is being used, but there are also concerns when it comes to things like hallucinations, deep fakes. How do you deal with it? And then from all this, what emerges is the question of trustworthiness. If I employ a generative AI algorithm in the network, can I trust it to deliver equitable, fair policies for all the different users? And when I talk about trustworthiness, what do you trust? You trust something which you can explain. We all know how the generative AI works through the, attention is all you need paper, the, query key value. But even after going into mathematics, today we are not able to say why the generative AI is doing certain things. For example, yesterday there was a column in New York Times about a recent lawsuit which has been filed because the ChatGPT used certain context, verbatim from the New York Times. Now the makers, they did not have any clue that it will pull verbatim and it will use it in the answer. So now they are plugging it in. But such situations will continue to occur till we have, till we fine tune more, and that's in the process of research. So whether generative AI will give value? Certainly yes. Is it ready now? Probably not in most of the situations, maybe few situations. But having said that, there are some fantastic technologies which are there out in the market. I think somebody was talking about robotics. If you look at the robotics, the reinforcement learning, the multi-agent reinforcement learning, where you can have multiple robots collaborate in a factory, that is going to be one of the most exciting things that we will have in future. So, yeah, the future is surely exciting, and it will, I guess, get even more exciting in 2024. Thank you, Professor.
So this is actually a reasonably simple answer. I think whether AI will bring value depends on what domain you are working in. For example, I don't see as much value being created by AI yet in manufacturing, for example. So there are certain aspects to the problem that one should look at, whether AI will bring value. So it has to be a large data problem. You should have reasonable amount of labeled data, or you should be able to generate synthetic data. And the most important thing is that if you make mistakes, the impact of that mistake should be minimal. So if a field has these characteristics, I think then AI has a lot of chance at succeeding. But if it's a small data field, or labeled data is not there, or mistakes are very expensive. For example, how many of us will go and sit in a flight where the probability of going to your location is 99%? Right? We will never do it. 99% is a great number in AI. If 1 out of 100 flights is going to crash, no one is going to sit in a flight, right? So it is important to look at the characteristics of the problem and look at what problems require what solution. I think in the hype, you should not get into this, everything will be solved by AI. So that's a caution, but I think there are lots of problems with the characteristics that I mentioned, which is where Gen AI will have a real impact.
No, great points. I think the good part about the responses, we touched upon not only internal processes, how you're gearing up, obviously skilling as a part of it, and the entire readiness around the problem, as well as the value that understates is. Professor, we'll take the question from you back this time, and that question is, I mean, obviously you embody academia. The world tomorrow, I mean, the moment we talk about all of this future technologies, be it Gen AI, deep tech, etc., readiness of talent becomes extremely, extremely important, correct? Now, whether it being to solve problems for the government or even problems at a local level versus corporate, etc. And I'm sure there are many questions here in the room around as an individual. And if we look back at our careers, we didn't start as Gen AI experts, right? We've gained or picked up this knowledge. Any 2 words around advice to the talent in the room, how to pick up that, and more importantly, as a premier institute, how are you guys in terms
call this as personalization of LLMs, right? I had an opportunity to interact with Andrew Yang a couple of weeks ago in another conference. So we were talking about this concept of national LLMs, right? Because the culture sensitivity of the large language models is woefully, inadequate today. So he was talking about LLMs for Korea, and I think India is moving in that direction when we talk about Bharat language models, right? Extending that a bit, I'm also looking at a hierarchy of LLMs, which will be, country level, state level, and even at an individual level. That is the day where truly you will be assisted and augmented in our decision making.
Thank you. I think, so great responses. Thank you so much. As we wrap this up, whilst you heard plethora of insights from this very enriching panel. I think there are 2 points I would personally want you to walk back with. Is number one, I definitely believe you will see marriage of the left brain and the right brain. So it's just not Gen AI, it is the pure predictive AI and the digital twin, etc. that we saw. And I think Tamil Nadu as a state, a lot of our, if I would say, investments in the physical assets and then building that entire data AI, Gen AI piece, plus the predictive AI would be hugely helpful. Lastly, there is a 10-20-70 that we are seeing play out, wherein there is a 10% focus on the model, there is a 20% focus on this on the data, and then there is a 70% focus really on the need, on the process and the people. Otherwise, I mean, we are now at a stage wherein everyone says, okay, we can get the tech done, but how do you get the remaining pieces to fall in place? And I think that's a great opportunity for us as a state to crack with the best minds, the investment, the policies and everything that come through. With that, a big thank you to the fabulous audience, as well as the super panelists as well. And thank you for having us here. Thank you.
My appreciation to the panel for the thoughtful discussion, which is very much relevant to the current scenario. Due to the time constraint, we'll be opening the floor for just 2 quick questions.
Hello. My question is AI as a service. Big tech giants have their own way of monetizing things, but for a startup or a small scale company, is it as easy as, hey, you seem like a potential client, I do DA, can I do a, is it as easy, is that flow of clients continuous, and what's your view on it, AI as a service for startup or small scale companies? Thank you.
Any one of you can pick it up. I don't know.
Quickly, I wanted to respond to you. A couple of days ago, I was evaluating about 20 startups, out of which 10 were medtech. They are looking at how they can come up with genome sequencing. How can they come up with cancer cure? These are the kind of startups I saw. Out of the 20, 50% were in the medtech, right? And they were all based on generative AI. So if you are looking at, hey, compute, will I get or not? These startups, probably are giving a positive sign that they are, able to crack this and create a business out of it. So, in my view, there is a possibility to, use generative AI even in startups.
Just augmenting that answer a bit more. All of these big tech companies that, that you might be talking about, they are really supporting 2 things. One is they have got a dedicated pricing model for startups. Right, and it's very encouraging for the startups, those pricing models. And second thing is they are encouraging open innovation, and I would rather also say they are kind of open sourcing as a part of their open innovation initiative. They're open sourcing a lot of their fundamental code, which others like the startups can kind of reuse. Right. So one thing that I would advise is think from the angle of a problem. The means to solve that has been taken care of, is my thought. Yeah.
One last question. Please keep it short and sweet.
Yeah. Good morning. My name is Srikanth, and from the additive manufacturing space. So I saw the topic of deep tech. So how is AI collaborating with the additive because we are in the Detroit of India with so much of automotive, and we see that collaboration between additive manufacturing and AI, big gap. So we are, the automotive or the other sectors in manufacturing, including startups or including the SMEs, are only not able to come into the additive manufacturing space because there's a huge gap in design. And how is AI going to help that? We are currently looking at some AI modeling where human is being, photograph is converted through AI into a ready to print model. But how do you see the innovation labs coming into that? You talked about innovation. The technology is ready. But there's a huge gap between the technology availability, which we have, and the assimilation, means the adoption of the technology. There's a big gap. So we are ready for the innovation labs, we are ready for the equipment, we are ready for the services. I'm into additive manufacturing, industrial services. But how is this going to really happen as a service on the ground? How are the innovation labs going to help this happen, make this happen?
Kaushik, do you want to take it? Or?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And the sector that you picked, auto, right, it's such a relevant sector. One of the examples that I can cite is that of, say, robotics. When you have an assembly line where your entire, be it a car or be it some other automobile which is being manufactured, what we are looking at is that different robots could be collaborating with each other. This collaboration between human beings is something that we know, that's ingrained between us. And we know that robots can do autonomous tasks. But how do different robots collaborate? There are different, research challenges related to non-stationarity, how we deal with it. There has been significant advances in this area, and from the research, we are even working with some of the top automotive companies to have this inside inside your factories, inside the assembly line. The second question regarding assembly line is the predictive maintenance. When we look at predictive maintenance, it's not just predicting which part might go wrong. We are past that point. We are already know at least in parts how to solve it. But the other part of the problem which we are now looking at is that how you can remotely solve it, how remotely you can diagnose, and using such digital twins, how we can solve it by a person who is probably 1,000 kilometers away and still operating in a low latency mode.
My question is more onto the design to phase. Okay. Yeah, I think, Madam.
So, yeah, the innovation lab is probably what you were trying to ask. I was reading a book a while back, and I could probably, I don't recollect. There are innovation labs that have been already set up in India. Of course, it's not to the extent that they are, in any of the Western part of the world. But in India, it's starting up. So maybe I think, you can look for, all the existing innovation labs and see if from your end, because you said you would be able to enable through infrastructure. So this is just to answer your question on how and where you can look for. Okay.
Can I add a point here?
I might just add, sorry. 10 seconds.
Go ahead.
So I was just coming to that. So, we now have these various forums. Say, for example, since I represent Ericsson, we have the India-Sweden Business Council, where there is a company from India which collaborates with companies from Sweden, and together you create kind of a model factory, of course, in a small scale. There you are able to test out the technology. You can see how it works, whether it fits or not, and then you can take a call on adoption. So such avenues might be channels through which you can investigate whether you can absorb such cutting-edge technologies, whether they are fit for you. Yeah.
Sorry, not for the sake of piling on, but I think what you are touching on is you are looking at the elephant with a certain part of it. Because because if you look at auto companies in India, and I serve auto a lot, if you look at the leaders in auto, their ability to do design to engineering is 19 months, 18 months. Auto companies in India are about 2x of that time. And what would you need for that is not only a whole bunch of data at a very different integrated platform which does not sit today, and that's where a lot of forward-looking automakers are really disrupting the entire way they want auto to run. Because if you're trying to just stick additive manufacturing to the existing processes, I'm sorry, my friend, it's not going to work.
Sir,
absolutely.
Let's have the
Anyway, we are significantly out of time, but thank you so much again. And thanks to the panel once again for the very enriching answer.
Thank you, panelists. Thank you, audience. May I now request Mr. Praveen Nair, IAS CEO, TNGIM, to felicitate the guests. Mr. Rabik, Mr. Gopalan, and Ms. Nithya. I also request Mr. Anish Shegar, MD LCOT, to felicitate the other guests, Kaushik Dey and Raghunathan Regaswamy. This brings us to the end of the morning's Global Investors Meet session. I thank all our speakers, panelists, and the wonderful audience for your participation. I also thank Team Guidance TN for giving us this opportunity to showcase the power that Gen AI and Deep Tech holds in the present and in the future. Until I see you again, this is me, Ritika, signing off. Thank you. Have a nice day. Okay. The next session will start at 2 p.m.